Big Drive Energy live here on a Wednesday before the Scottish Open, the PGA Tour, and the professional golfers have headed across the pond. We're going to discuss the Scottish Open, a great golf fight on social media this past week that we have to get to. Mitchell did a green screen and it kind of blew up on TikTok and Instagram. How bad is LeBron at swinging a golf club? It's pretty bad. John Deere playoff and the curious case of Brian Campbell. Plus, as always, what the fuck Wednesday. All right, let's tee it up. Big Drive Energy Wednesday. We had a week, and I do want to start this pod off by a few shout outs. So, one, I want to give a shout out to the homie that sold me my rolls ins this morning at the Sinclair. They got a great they got a great deal on the rolls. So, I went in to buy some, and he, when I walked in, seemed like a normal dude. And he, his eyes were wide open, you can't see him in my glasses, but yeah, he was giving that look to me, and I was like, I just wanted
maybe because it was like 4:30 a.m.
No, it was actually like 6 a.m.
Whoa, early.
He gave me that look, and I was like looking back at him, and I was like, I just asked for a rolls ins. And he goes, I follow you on TikTok, and I was like, oh, dope. He's like,
hell
yeah,
yeah,
Drive Energy. I fucking love that shit, and I was like, sweet. Hoping he would maybe give me a better deal on the rolls ins, but it didn't happen.
That's How much were this rolls ins?
It was 39, which is a deal compared to like $8.50 a can. You're saving like $1.50 a can, $1.75 a can.
Bro, at Quick Trip, they're $10 a can. It is literal assault on my credit card.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't go to Quick Trip anymore. Unfortunately, QT is like my favorite place to go get a tea and just do a suicide tea with all the tea flavors that they have at the QT. But the Quick Trip by my house that I used to go to all the time, they only carry like smooth and chill zins. They don't have any flavors anymore. I've been in there like 3 or 4 different times just to see, because I want to give my Quick Trip boys a chance. I want to go back in there and I want that to be my Zin Palace, but it's not, because they don't ever have the flavors I need. And then the 7-Eleven on the corner has been letting me down. And I had to go get ice this past weekend for Sawyer's birthday party. And I went to the Sinclair because I was already in this parking lot. And I noticed their immense rolls of Zins all over the place. And I was like, this is my new Zin spot, plus a deal on a roll. So that's where I go.
The Sinclair off of like Yale and like right across from that Safeway, like by that Denver Athletic Club?
No. It's just the one literally on Holly in Florida, catty corner from the 7-Eleven.
Oh, okay. No shit.
Yeah, I've been in there a few times for different things, but yeah, the boys at 7-Eleven know me, so that part's kind of unfortunate that I have to stop going there. I'm not going to full stop going there, but they know me. They know my son, because I bring him in, get him a chalky milk, and I get a roll of Zins, and we are on our way. We usually just walk there because that's a nice kill of like 45 minutes in the morning. But shout out to the guy at Sinclair that recognized me, and then shout out to my boy at PXG. Hooked it up yesterday. I went in there because I have another broken shaft. This is 2 broken shafts in a month.
Well, tell us how this one broke.
It broke on the, I just made a swing and it broke. And it's under warranty. So I made a swing. It broke after traveling again. It's under warranty, so I didn't have to pay for this one. Got a new shaft ordered. But the other cool thing was, last time I went in there, I had to pay for the shaft, which I got reimbursed by United because they snapped it on my trip to Mexico. This one, I didn't have to pay for the shaft because it was under warranty. But the dude also hooked me up and went in the back and gave me a comparable shaft to be able to use until it comes in. He said 7 to 10 days. So I am not driverless anymore again, for at least the near future. And I played golf yesterday, just a 9 holes with the wife late in the afternoon. And I did I played her tees. I played like the gold tees. for most of the holes. Some of the holes where I would hit iron off the tee anyways, I just played the blues, but I played the gold tees and was hitting like 7-iron, 8-iron off the tee to kind of give myself some of the same shots that I would have from the back tees. And it was kind of fun. It was kind of fun to go up and play the golds, and I still rolled it like shit overall, and just nothing great. I did make one long birdie putt, but my wedge game needs some work. We'll get into Brian Campbell and how good his wedge game is in a bit, but my wedge game definitely needs some work because I think I had 116 yards in like 3 different times in 9 holes, and my closest shot to the hole is like 25 feet. And it's just not, and I know statistically you get into it, it's probably pretty normal and pretty average, but I feel like at least one of those I should have, hit into 10, 15 feet. And then a couple of shorter wedge shots I didn't hit all that close. So struggled a little bit with some wedges.
I will say that I don't know if I've ever seen you make less than like an 80% swing. I don't know if I've ever seen you take it back to like your right hip and kind of saw off the follow through. It's pretty much always a pretty full swing, and you almost decelerate on the shorter ones. I'd like to see you keep the speed up a little more and maybe make a little bit shorter of a swing, because I feel like you run into distance control issues because of that. Like you're just pretty much full bore at anything. Or if you've got like 50, 60 yards, it's a very, like, you're still taking it up here and you're just kind of decelerating. Like, unfortunately, your typical 20 handicap, they're still making that full swing and just like slowing down. I'd like to see you take a little shorter swing with the wedges and then kind of accelerate through it a little bit more. Would you agree that I've never seen you practice like a 50, 60, 70 yard shot ever?
Well, okay. So yeah, it's been, I mean, I know you moved to the East Coast, so it's been a while for you, and I get that, and that's fine. But I actually like most of my range sessions, or at least my practice sessions before I go out on the golf course, my warm-up sessions, like the first 10 shots is me hitting 50 to 60 yard shots and just like warming up, but also like feeling what it feels like to hit a 50, 60 yard shot and not taking a full swing, not taking a full backswing, and then decelling, like trying to dial it back. And here's my thing. Listen up. I'm talking. Yesterday, 115 yards is like an 80 to 90% sand wedge, and I hit sand wedge. I didn't try to go at 60 degree, which I theoretically could have done a couple of times. I didn't try to go full bore at it and hit 60 degree and hope it flies 115 yards. I hit sand wedge, but I need to get better about my distance control with those clubs because it's still not where it needs to be. But my process is correct. I feel like my process is right, and I'm on the right track and thinking the right things. I'm just not hitting those shots at the correct distance. Like I'm either mostly leaving them probably short, probably 10 to 15 feet short. And then if it's another, 10 to 15 feet offline, it's a 25, 30 footer. And so the line's not great, and I think I'm hitting everything a little bit short, which is starting to get to me.
Okay, so I would agree with some of what you're saying, but I think the difference is because I have watched you hit short wedges, like when you're warming up, that's kind of your first 5 to 10 swings. But is there any intention about like, I'm trying to hit this 50 yards? Like, are you aiming at a target? Because usually I just see you blasting them into the field, the range. Like, there's minimal targets on Inverness's driving range, first of all, relatively speaking. But I don't even see you like aiming at a target. You're just kind of like getting loose, making 50, 60% swings, but you're not really having any intention behind it. So that's what I'm talking about, like practicing with the intention of this is going 60 yards, this is going 75 yards, that kind of thing. And then the other thing with your wedges is you hit them so high that's what makes it hard to control distance. You don't need to hit sand wedge 130 yards. And I know you're just going to say, like you're still taking some off, you're not hitting it full. But the way you hit wedges is you hit them stupid high. You're always throwing them up there fucking in the ozone layer when you could put it in the back of your stance and drive it in there more and even use a gap wedge from 115 and make a 70% swing, because that's how you control distance, is by controlling trajectory, especially at altitude. Like I've talked to quite a few people out here in New Jersey about the difference of golf at altitude, because the first thing you tell them when you're from Colorado is they're like, holy shit, what's it like playing at altitude? How far does the ball go? And especially in Colorado and any other place that high of altitude, you're just going to get random shots that go 10 to 15% further than you think they will. And you're kind of the king of that, because when you get a flyer out of the rough, you could hit 9-iron like 200 yards. But that is impossible to control because you can't tell when that's going to happen. So if you can control the trajectory more, then you can actually have a better chance of controlling distance. So I think you need to work on hitting some of those low driving wedges, even from 110, 115 yards, with that little sawed off follow through, as opposed to that sand wedge that goes fucking 150 feet in the air, because then you have no shot at controlling distance at that point. So
Yeah, I need some more work on it, because I feel like the thing is I'm not all that comfortable with that shot. Like I'm comfortable with like a sawed off follow through if I'm taking a ton off, but I'm not really comfortable with the 80 to 90% swing and then sawing off the follow through, because I feel like every time I do that, it's just like a pull. It's just a lower than I expected pull, where I'm trying to figure out, because like if I can saw off a sand wedge and hit it 70 yards, and it's pretty low, and I feel like I can control that distance pretty well. But once I get to that 100 to 120 yards, where it's not 115 yards, I should say, it's not a full sand wedge, but it's full enough to where I still have to make a big swing, like not a full swing, but a big enough swing where it's not like a borderline chip. Those ones I'm not all that comfortable with. And I always feel like it's just, I feel like I'm never going to get that to the hole. That's my biggest problem, is I feel like I can either saw it down to 60% or I can go 100% at a club, but that 80 to 90%
that's why
is
I'm
where
saying you decel at it, and that's why you feel like you can't get an 80%er there. And 90% of the time, I know we're throwing out a lot of numbers, 80, 60, 90, but 90% of the time when I'm teaching and I see somebody that is trying to control their distance and is pulling it, like you said, what it is their hands are out racing their body, because you're trying to create too much speed down low with your hands, rather than letting your body turn through the shot and your hands kind of stay out in front of your chest, rather than the hands out racing the chest and you're flipping at it and then it's going low and left. So you just need to trust your actual pivot more and not feel like you're manipulating it at the bottom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I need to make that swing more with just my rotation in my body versus
Correct.
because I have the feeling of what I think is taking it back 80% ish. But then when I follow through, like, I think my wife kind of has Kylie has the same problem, where it's like she feels like she's taking it back 80%, but it either feels like it's so short that you have to be at like 50%, feel like 50% for it to actually be 80, or it's all the way back and you're just like, and my other biggest problem with that too is the 80% takeaway. I tend to get a little quick on that. That's my other issue, is where I'm focused on taking the club back slower, but then once I feel like I'm at that 80%, it's not a
You
smooth
jump at it.
transition. Yeah, I
Yeah.
jump forward at it, and then I fucking skull it, or it's like way too low, and then it's over the green.
But I think that comes from not having enough club. That is what a lot of people struggle with, is even subconsciously they don't have enough club to take that amount off and still get it there. So that's where I want to see you just spend like an hour and a half on the driving range, literally not a single shot outside of 130 yards, just grooving different numbers, feeling how high your hands are at the top of the backswing with different clubs. Like my 50-yard go-to shot right now at sea level is my 60-degree up to my right hip and accelerate through. It is like a half a 60-degree and it goes 50 yards almost every time. So you just need to dial in a few of those numbers, because then once you have like a 50-yarder and like say an 80-yarder, you can kind of work the 20 yards either way off of those if you just take a little bit bigger swing, things like that. But dude, it just takes practice. You gotta practice. And I will give you credit. You've been playing more, you've been practicing more, but we've got your member guest coming up in a couple weeks, and I think we gotta win it, dude. Like I mean, obviously everybody goes in with the intention of winning it, but I think we're too good to not win it. And that sounds pretty cocky, but this is a mid-level country club member guest. Like, we're not playing the Pine Valley member guest. We're not playing the Seminole member guest. Inverness, nice place, but I don't see there being any tour level guys that we shouldn't be able to beat if we're playing good golf at that member guest. But what I don't want to do is put pressure on you, because pressure in the golf game for you is not necessarily something that you thrive on, unfortunately.
It just depends on where I'm at mentally, but sometimes I feel like pressure actually helps me a ton. I don't know. Like it's just I haven't played a pressure packed round, if you will, because even when I'm playing for money, it doesn't get me going. Like I don't know what it is. Like unless it was like thousands of dollars, if it was even maybe $100 a hole, that would probably get me pretty feel like there's some pressure. But I just all of my golf is so leisurely, and that's when I honestly sometimes play the best or just hit it the best, when I don't really care. But then I start like score chasing, and then when I start to score chase, it can either go really bad or the wheels start to come off at the end. Like the last 3 rounds where I've felt like I could go really low or had really good days, I've bogeyed 18, I think, every single time, or at least multiple times in the last 4 to 5 rounds where RK texted me this. I don't know, the Fogel, FOGL, fear of going low. And like, I was just
You
telling
are
him,
Fogel.
I don't get that until I get to like 15, 16. Like when I'm at 8, and even if I'm 2 or 3 under, I'm like, oh, there's plenty of bogeys coming here to just ruin this day. But when I get to 15 and I start counting like how many holes left can I, if I bogey in, can I still shoot under par, and that shit starts creeping into your head, you're absolutely toast at that point, which I'm fully aware I'm toast. But I also don't, it doesn't set in for me until about I get to like 15T with 4 holes left, where I'm like, where am I really at here? Oh, I'm 2 or 3 under. Like I can't bogey every hole, and I'm going to be pissed that I shoot 73. But then the funny thing about all of that is where when I go out for a round, if I tell myself, hey, you're going to shoot 1 over today or even par today, yeah, I'm like happy about it. But the last 4 or 5 times I've either been a couple under par or even par, or just a couple over par, it's ended so poorly that I just have a terrible taste in my mouth, or there was just so many opportunities that I missed throughout the entire round that I just can't feel good about shooting that score, even though going into the round, the predetermined score of that, somebody telling me I would have shot that, I would have been pleased with the day.
For sure. Well, luckily the member guest is a team thing. So on a best ball, you and I could each shoot 80, hypothetically speaking, and still shoot a 64 best ball. So that's probably not going to happen. But then you need to worry a little bit less about your own personal score and just worry more about the team score. But it's also funny how mentally you're just totally fine with going lower when it's a team thing. Like you and I have shot 8, 9, 10 under in team best ball stuff, and you don't think twice about it. But even when you're 3 or 4 under on your own ball, it feels totally different. But maybe that's just because it's all you. Like you literally have to hit, for better or for worse, you have to hit every single shot coming in. And you're like, how can I steer this in the right direction and not have another complete fucking shipwreck? So I totally get that. But what's going to be crazy, and I think we just segue this into the member guest segment. But the alternate shot is going to be crazy, because that separates the men from the boys. That is like the Zurich Classic. When they go best ball, they go stupid low. And then sometimes during an alternate shot, tour guys are shooting 75, 76, 77. So that Sunday is really, or Saturday, I guess, is going to separate the men from the boys. Right now, tell me what do you think we'd shoot in an alternate shot that you would be happy with?
73, 72,
I was going to say
73.
74. I mean, that's a pretty fucking solid round. Like, because that is just one ball. You and I trying to keep drivers in play. Well, one of us trying to keep drivers in play, and then one of us trying to hit wedges close, irons close. The par threes out there are tough. So we'll kind of have to map that out. But do you want to segue that into our member guest segment? Because I think it's beginning to be member guest season, and there's just a few things that I don't think you should say to your member guest partner. So I had Spencer and I put together a list of 3 things, and we haven't discussed any of this, but I want you list yours off, and then I'll list mine off, and then we'll kind of discuss a little bit.
Okay. Well, let's go back and forth. I'll start with 1-1.
Okay.
1-1, the first overall pick coming up. It's sorry. I think it's sorry.
That is my 1-1 as well. That is there's no sorries. We're both gonna hit fucked up golf shots, like,
and I'm gonna say it 100 times. I know not to say it.
I hope you're not saying it right after the first tee. Like, at least let's get to like 3 or 4 before you have to apologize, hopefully.
Well, the good news is the first day is a scramble, so it'll be a real comfortable scenario where I don't have to say sorry when I blow one in the trees, because I know you're most likely now you're even more focused, so you're going to dial down and hit one in the fairway. So I'm not worried about the scramble.
Okay, honorable mention there, because I don't have it on my list, is you got us on this one. Like, right off the tee box, when your boy's like, hey man, you got us. I'm like, oh fuck, you're already hopping on my back and we're not even off the tee box yet. Like, this is a team event. And I'm usually the guy who individually just worries about my own game. But when your buddy is in his pocket right off the tee and he's like, hey, you gotta have it here. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. So that is my honorable mention. My 1-1 was also sorry. Because do you remember Bill Murphy? We used to play a lot of golf with him back at Spring Valley. Yeah, Bill Murphy's the fucking man. I miss playing golf with that guy. But during match play, he would get paired with John Hogue. And Hogue is just like the nicest dude in the world. But Murph was a little bit more hardcore, like Irish fucking New York guy. He's like, don't say sorry to me. And I remember him getting so pissed at John Hogue, because he's like, this fucking dude says sorry to me half a dozen times. And he's like, I'm hitting bad shots too. You don't hear me saying sorry for hitting bad shots. Like, you just got to live with it. Obviously, you got to put your partner in a good position. But after that, there's no sorries.
Yeah, no sorries to be had. I will say it a few times, but I'll try to keep the sorries to myself in my own head. Oh my God. Oh, okay. I thought I just erased my note of on my list here. My 1-2, round 1, pick number 2. I should have told you it broke right or left is the next one. Like that. And that's something we have to really dial in, because I don't know the greens at Inverness. The green book we got is coming. It got shipped
all fucking summer.
No, 100%. But dude, I played with a guy that had been a member there since the 70s, and he said he was still confused about the greens. That's pre me. That's almost pre our own mom at that point, that he's been playing golf at Inverness and still doesn't know the greens. So the green book may help, because that may just give us some clarity on like what we see doesn't matter on the golf course. It only matters compared to the book. But I think that is something you just keep to yourself if you don't say it before. And we have to kind of figure out whether we're going to say that stuff before or not. But there's a lot of putts that go both ways. And I'm like, oh, I think it goes right at the hole. Or I think, because if it's pretty clear, if it's going one way, you can kind of both see that. And then, where you end up hitting the putt in relation to if we thought it was a cup out or 2 cups out or whatever, can be all, based on the actual person putting the ball. But I don't want to have you say, I knew it went left and I thought it was going right the whole time, if you're not going to say it goes left at the beginning or before I hit the putt.
Yes. Well, like any good relationship, the line of communication needs to stay open. So you need to let me know if you want my eyes on a putt or vice versa. I generally say I'm more comfortable reading putts by myself, but sometimes you need a second set of eyes, which I totally get, because I'll have you occasionally step in. The only problem with you is I feel like you have a tough time making a decision. Like, I'll ask you what a putt does, and you're like, oh, I think it does this. I'm like, even if you're wrong, give me a definite answer, something that I can commit to, instead of, just a second guy coming over and be like, I don't know either. Like that doesn't fucking help. And we're talking through it right now.
I'm definitely going to say I think, because I don't know anything. And
but I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire after I miss a putt and be like, you told me it went right. Like, that's just not, I'm not that kind of dude. My second pick, very similar vicinity that your second pick was in, but it's either don't 3-putt this or don't blow this one way by. Because I've had playing partners tell me to do like that is just the most negative possible reinforcement that you could give. Like, that'd be like stepping into the huddle with your quarterback and looking at him and be like, just don't throw an interception here. Like, that how the fuck are they supposed to go out and do any sort of good when you just planted that seed of negativity in their mind? Actually, when I was playing at the Junior Ryder Cup Academy, you've probably heard this story, but we were going down. It was me and this kid, Cody Pennypacker, fucking absolutely blowing it all over the yard that day. It was a 2-man best ball, and it was against these 2 other kids. And this one kid was like the cockiest kid in the whole thing. He was the oversharer that would stand up and like talk out of turn, and just nobody liked the kid. And I was playing against him. He had us 2 down with 3 to go. And I went birdie 16, birdie 17 to get it back to even. And then on 18, I remember it still. This was 12 years ago, 13 years ago. I hit 6 iron from like 180 to like 30 feet. And as we're walking up, Cody goes, just don't blow this one way by. Just don't 3-putt it. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? First of all, you've been in your pocket the last 3 holes. Second of all, I'm the one that's got this putt to win the match. Like, I'm on the offensive here. What do? I step up and bury that 30-foot snake, and this kid legit dropped to his knees on the green and started crying. And everybody else, like all my buddies that I had made throughout the week, they were like, that is the best fucking win out of anybody this whole week, because that kid sucks. And I was like, I agree. I fucking love beating him. But long story short, you don't tell somebody that they can't 3-putt this. Like, that is golf. Mistakes are going to be made, but you always want to be on the offensive. You want to be thinking, give this thing a run, give it a scare. Now, there is times when, yeah, you're leading by 2 and you have a 20-footer, you're not going to fucking hit it 6 feet by. But I feel like if you have any sort of sense, if you're not firing 2 brain cells together, you know the situation, and somebody else doesn't have to tell you, don't fucking blow this 20 feet by. So am I wrong?
No, I think that's pretty fair. I know you're going to say that to me multiple times. Yeah, just don't 3-putt this, or like when you're in pocket, let's say for 1 or 2 holes. It very rarely happens, but if you are, and it's all up to me, and then you all of a sudden just turn a dead eye focus onto my game and start fucking picking me apart, that's when we're going to run into some problems.
Okay, there's other ways to put it though. I'll be like, hey, this is a pretty quick one. Like, that is a good way to
I know what you're saying though. I know.
No, but you're not planting the seed of negativity. You're dancing around it a little bit, which I think is fair. Like, hey, you got all the room in the world to the left of you. Like, don't fucking hit this tee shot in the water right. Like, there's certain ways to put it that, and it does sound kind of obvious. Like, do you really need to say it? But just reinforcement. It's like positive reinforcement.
Yeah, my 1-3 is going to be, I knew that wasn't enough club, or I knew that was too much club. Because like saying that to someone is, to me, it's annoying in general, because we're good golfers. We're better than most people, but there's still worlds above us. But even those guys, like, it can be the right club choice, and you just don't hit it either where you wanted to, or the wind got behind it, or the wind pushed it. Like, that's one of the things that annoys me, is where I know I've hit enough 9 irons to know that it goes 165. Am I going to hit it 165 every single time? No. But, sometimes it goes 155. Sometimes it goes 160. Sometimes it goes 180 if there's wind behind me, or I clip it really clean and pull high draw it. I haven't been doing that very often lately, if you can tell by the exact recall of my iron swings. But saying it's not enough club is going to piss me off. That's something you just don't say to your partner. If they continuously, there are some people that have some distance issues in terms of they have some there's got to be a word for this where they just always think they hit it further than they actually do. But I
Yardage
think
hubris. They have
yeah,
hubris about their
there we go.
yardages.
Yardage hubris. If you have yardage hubris, then you're beyond repair, or somebody just needs to figure, like, just because you hit a 7, like I hit a 9-iron 200 yards once, does that mean I hit 9-iron 200 yards every single time? No, it was the perfect conditions. I caught it clean. The wind was a little bit behind me, it was hot, whatever the circumstances may be. But I know that generally speaking, when I hit 9-iron, it's going roughly 165. Could go 170, could go 160. But if you say to someone like, I knew that wasn't enough club, or I knew that was too much club after they blow it over the green, that can set me off pretty quick, because I'm like, it wasn't, it was just not a good swing. But it was, the club was correct.
Okay. But along those same lines, opposite direction is like, if you hit one and you clip it pretty clean and it comes up short, and your partner be like, did you just like chunk that? And you're like, no, I hit it good. Like, you don't plant that it's just not negging any of it. Like, I'm not saying I need rainbows and butterflies. I'm as negative as they come on the golf course at times, but I don't need my partner rubbing my nose in it afterwards. Like, I know I hit a bad fucking shot. Okay. Like that Draymond in Kevin Durant's ear. I know I hit a bad fucking shot. Like, I don't need you in my ear telling me it was a bad fucking shot.
I want you to set your over under on hillbillies right now in 3 18-hole rounds. You can't, the practice round doesn't count. So just 3 18-hole tournament rounds. How many times do you call yourself a hillbilly? I would set the over under at 7.5 is like where I'm comfortable at.
I had 6.5. I'm generally a good for one hillbilly per 9. There's an occasional hillbilly where it's kind of positive. It's like backhanded positive at myself. Like, you're such a fucking hillbilly. Like, you chunk a chip and it rolls to like 2 feet or whatever. But I would say 1 per 9. So 6.5, depending on how the ball striking is a pretty good over under. But yeah, there's a lot of slurs that cannot be said on airways that come out of our mouths, unfortunately. But that is, you keep them internal. You call if I call myself that can't be offensive to anybody else, right? Like,
no, I think that's one of the funniest things. One of the things I'm low key looking forward to the most of playing with you, with other people that we don't play with, is your one-liners, vernacular, and the way you talk to yourself, not your ball, not anyone else. Like, I think that opens people's eyes to a different type of human being on the golf course. So I'm looking forward to, if we get some older dudes, or we get some guys our age, like, the shit they hear from you will 75% of it will be some new shit that they've never heard in their entire life. So I'm looking forward to their reaction to that.
I do look forward to expanding people's vocabularies on the golf course, because they're not quite familiar with my game. That Shaq meme, I was not familiar with their game. They're going to look at me and be like, holy shit, this guy's got a whole other language that he speaks. So my last pick, and we didn't even touch on any of the drinking yet, because that is a part of it that immensely comes into play. If your partner says, let's cool it on the drinks, like, first of all,
the funny thing is, all the things that you've said that you shouldn't say, I feel like you're going to say to me.
Okay, well, no, but let me preface it with this. Your member guest partner that you're picking, you have to know what you're getting into. If your buddy's a complete wild card that you're bringing out that could be blacked out, like face down, asleep in the cart by the 13th hole, then you knew what you're getting into. So you have to choose wisely and know what the fuck's going on. I think you know that I can play pretty good golf with about 6 to 7 drinks in me. And I think I know that you can probably play pretty good golf with about 2 to 3 drinks in you. We're a little bit different like that. But if you have 6 or 7, you're going to be looking at me all fucking cross-eyed, wondering who's calling the Uber for us to fucking get home. And I don't need that. So yeah, if I see you ripping shots, I'm probably going to tell you to cool it. But that's because I know your limits, and I think you know my limits. And it's just, it's checks and balances. It's the Senate and the Congress, like, you need to have your opinion. I need to have mine. But ultimately you're not my dad. I can drink as much as I fucking want. And if I'm vibing, especially like if you're playing bad and you're shit faced, sure. But even then, like, does it matter? If you're playing bad, you might as well have a good time. You might as well get hammered. But I cannot stand the group. Like they have a good round going and then they immediately clinch up and they're like, okay, no drinking, no laughing, take it serious. Like we got to try to grind this out. It's like, how did you get here playing good golf? Did you get here like enjoying yourself, playing loose? Or were you just uptight and fucking freaked out the entire time? So that's where I'm like, don't tell me not to drink. I can have a couple before the round, but I have seen it 100% go overboard. And like, what do you think? Are you what are your vibes on the night before like the final round? Because we've seen the other side of it too, where everybody before the first night gets way too hammered because you're at the club, everybody's drinking together. It's kind of like the little kid excitement of like you're in the car going to the water park. That's like the night before the member guests. Like everyone's so excited to get going that they kind of blow their wad, too early, a little premature. But like by the last night, I think we mix in a couple drinks, we keep it casual, depending on where we're at. I guess it's a very fluid situation because if we're leading, but honestly, I'll probably do the same thing. I'm just contradicting myself once again. I'm probably going to hit the sauce either way and let the results happen. That's just kind of how I roll.
Yeah, I think the drinking part of it, like I think we'll get enough on the golf course that I'll be able to kind of a cool down period once I get home. And the interesting thing about this too is the first two rounds are both in the afternoon. So I feel like that'll be a good, like, you don't necessarily need to, be alive the rest of the day, if you will. Like I can get stuff done, be productive in the morning, and then I don't have to worry about potentially doing anything other than just being a good dad in the evenings after I get home. Like I can't be a complete waste of space, or else it's just Sawyer never gives up on me. He will just wrestle me and fight. Like I can't be in the tank. But I think when I get home, like I'm not going to probably drink more when I get home. I'll probably cool down from 7 p.m. on, and then the next day, the other afternoon round, probably not start drinking until the round again. But yeah, like you said, I think one of the funniest things is when people are real light or having a good time in drinking, and then all of a sudden decide to stop because they're playing good. Like you're playing good because you're having a good time. The second you take this member guest and make it the fucking Open Championship, you're gonna start faltering like you're actually playing in the Open Championship as a amateur golfer. So I don't think there's any, like, I think you just keep it consistent. Few drinks, drink every 3-4 holes for me is kind of where my sweet spot is. And I just continue to play well until I hit one bad shot, and then the amount of drinks I have usually turns into a club toss or something of that.
Yeah, and then I'm going to be in your ear trying to give you. I'm going to be your Tony Robbins, giving you self-help while I'm fighting for my life over here, trying to make pars and fucking keep the boat above water. That is the big difference for you, though, and I'll be able to tell right off the bat is if the mentality that you bring, like. If you're already kind of acting defeated, like you make one bogey, I'm a big body language guy. And if you're giving me negative body language, I'm going to shut that shit down quickly. Like we need to stay up on what we're doing no matter what. You make a bogey, fight it out, make a par, make a couple pars, make a birdie. Like we just got to keep each other up. And sometimes, and I'm I've been victim of it as well. Shit happens and you get a little negative, but there's just no, like, ultimately a member guest should be the funnest weekend of the year for you, or one of the funnest weekends. So don't ruin it by taking it too serious. Don't ruin it by being an asshole to your playing partner. Like ultimately when you look back, win or lose or whatever, you're just going to remember how much fun you had. So I think we just have a good time. But I think we do need to win it as well. Like it's a little different for us. I think we got to go out and win this thing. Otherwise, what's even the point? Like I'm not out there for a hit and giggle.
Yeah, we're not playing in this for a hit and giggle. We're playing in this to win, or at least be competitive coming down the stretch on the last round on Saturday. talking about competitive on the golf course, switching gears a little bit here to your green screen video yesterday and people being overly pissed off on the golf course. I'm no stranger to that. I've been there a time or two, but I don't think I've ever got. I almost did get into a fight actually a couple like 2 Sundays ago on the golf course in lieu of 2 kids I was playing with, and we were playing quote unquote slow. Oh, funny quick blurb about that. I go into the pro shop yesterday and I kind of apologized to the pro. I didn't apologize, but I was like, "Hey, did you hear anything from the round on Sunday?" And I was doing this, believe me, I had a thought in mind here because I wanted to call this fucking guy out without being like, "Hey, X and so is a dickhead." And so I was like, "Hey, did you hear anything from the round on Sunday?" Blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, what happened? And I was like, "Well, we were playing slow. I had these 2 kids with us. We were trying to keep them up to pace." I also wanted to mention that 2 kids were playing on a Saturday morning walking or a Sunday morning walking, and one of them wasn't a member. Just kind of that was piece one of me just like,
wait, yeah.
What's the word?
You were Trojan horsing.
Passive aggressively getting that in there. So that happened, number one. Number two, though, I was like, "Yeah, dude, guy came up to us he was on 14 and we were on 16 and he was fucking yelling at me." And I was like trying to tell him that I was only 240 out and he was pissed at me that I was quote unquote lasering it from 300 yards, even when I hit it on the green. And I was like yelling back at him. And then he goes, "Let me do some math here." So he starts looking at the tee sheet and he goes, "Oh, Mr. Garcia." And I was like, "Yep, that was him." Because I like kind of described his shorter, dark complexion, if you will, with a bucket hat. And then he goes, "That's hilarious, actually, because I just got on them for playing in 2 hours and 10 minutes on the front nine today." And so that kind of a funny little thing, but I was like laughing with him about it because I was like, "Yeah, dude was pissed off." And we basically played in 4:10 when all is said and done because we let a group pass us. So we were essentially 10 minutes behind on the first tee. But those private people, as fun as it is to go out and play in an hour and a half, hour 45, which I love doing, I'm not going to be overly mad if I'm playing in 4 hours and 30 minutes or 4 hours 20, 4:10, because that's still compared to what we played as kids and what we grew up with and what we dealt with working at a golf course our whole lives. It was absolutely 10 times worse than anything I've dealt with at Inverness. So anyways, back to these golf course fights, which all seem to come off a pace of play. I'll let you kind of take the floor here because you know the names and the situation and you did the green screen video, but all-time golf course fight, which turned out to be a former NHL player. And I just wish I had the will to do anything as much as as that little dude had the will to fight this guy that was dwarfing him in size and apparently pretty good at fighting as well.
Well, yeah. So the whole video came to light afterwards when it got posted by multiple different outlets. But basically, it seemed like the dudes in front of the group that ultimately beat the shit out of the group in front of them, that lead group was taking forever. They couldn't even stand to tee their balls up. Like they were just shit-faced. And you could probably tell by watching the video how fucked up they were. But then this guy is chirping and talking shit. And this is the typical like city versus country strong. And we actually had the lady whose husband videotaped the whole thing. She commented on our Instagram.
Had it on record.
I've got this all on record. Like that is most Canadian shit I've ever heard in my life. So that just fucking cracked me up. But this happened in Red Deer, Alberta, which is like Rick from Red Deer, Paul Bissonnette type of shit. Alberta boys are built different. I think they're a lot of like stupid, like not stupid, but not the smartest and just big, like fucking animals. Like I guess a lot of like bull riders are from Alberta. Obviously, a lot of hockey players. But think about like South Dakota, North Dakota, kind of the Midwest, and then you go up, like that's Alberta. And so that these guys are all like these country strong, crazy motherfuckers. And this one, the smaller dude, like the tat sleeve right off the bat, lets you know that he thinks he's way tougher than he is. That is A1 for me. He's got the spiked hair, he's got the tat sleeve. He's like, I can fucking take on anybody. So then this dude, they eventually show the guy who beat the fuck out of him. His name is Nick Turinsky. Tarnasky. Nick Tarnasky. And so this dude played in the show for multiple years. I looked up his hockey DB page. I think he's 6'4", 235 pounds. And those were in his playing days because he looked a little thicker than 235 for being that big of a guy. He's probably like a good 250, 260. And he just absolutely pumps this guy's fucking eye shut. And what was your favorite part of it? Because I think him physically tossing him like a rag doll was right up there. And also the self-commentating of bang, 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 like just landing these fucking punches. I don't know how that dude stood up. Like, that is crazy. I didn't hear no bell, Randy Marsh type shit. And unfortunately, I feel like there's so many takes out there about this fight that nobody has an original take anymore. But it is so fucking perfect that this dude runs his fucking mouth to a guy that was legitimately an NHL enforcer that was up between the minor leagues and the NHL, a guy that would get 4 minutes a night, literally just be in the roster on the bench to protect their star players. So fucking hilarious. The fuck around, find out graph was tilted at about 45 degrees straight. And that dude fucked around and he 100% found out.
Yeah, I think, the bangs was one of my favorite parts just because he's like self-commentating his own punches. That's incredible content. But I think, this isn't going to be an original take either. A million people have probably said this, but the fact that he threw him in the water and then the fact that he comes out of the water like the fucking Loch Ness monster wanting more has got to be like
crawling out on all fours.
Yeah. When I got thrown in the water and I was basically put on my knees to crawl out of there, I would want no more of any of that. And that was pretty much the beginning. He's still there was still multiple different beatings he took. There's like 3 or 4 beatings in one that he took, and he was holding the collar and he wasn't giving him the jab here, but he didn't need it because
that would have been so good. The fucking collar jab and then oh my God, dude. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about it, and they were like, I just hope the dude doesn't like take any legal action. And it's like, how can you as a man sue the guy that you egged on and talk shit to? He fucking fed it to you. He fed you your breakfast, lunch, and dinner all in one fucking sitting. How can you go take legal action against this guy? Like, that would be the most absurd. And obviously it's all on video for that reason. But have you ever ran into, usually, unfortunately, when you look around, they say if you're not the smartest one in the room, or if you are the smartest one in the room, you need to find a different room. I'm the one where it's like, I've never gotten caught behind like an absurdly drunk group of golfers. So maybe that means that's my group. But I would say I'm pretty damn good at like, if I'm hammered or my buddies are hammered, I'm like, pick that fucking ball up. We're going. Like, we're not spending 5.5 hours out here pissing everybody off for that exact reason. Cause I'm not trying to get the shit beat out of me by someone. But I feel like maybe I'm that drunk group, and it hasn't happened in a while. But it happened, like, your buddies get a little too fucking tuned up. But then what you don't do is go run your cocksucker to a 6'4", 260 guy, and drop your mitts and say, let's fucking go. And this guy just pumps your fucking eye shut.
Yeah, I do have to give a shout out to that guy though, just for the absolute will to be in that fight. Whether or not he landed one punch, I don't think he did. Whether or not he got his ass completely destroyed, which he definitely did. I don't understand how he just keeps coming back for more. Like, one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
And one of the best parts as well, I mean, it's all so good. But when the drunk dude's buddy goes, I don't know, he's pretty tough. Like, you're saying this dude is tough? And that's kind of the best part of the video is you can't see the other guy initially. So you're like, is this a pretty even matchup? Like, does this guy, are they going to have a good old fucking Donnybrook, like Tilly? I'm just using a bunch of Canadian words at this point because I think it's fun. But is this going to be a fair fight? And then they show the guy and you're like, in what world does this guy think he could fight this dude? It is fucking unbelievable. Like, that just, that just goes to show you what alcohol can do to your thought process. Like, in no world is that guy sober, think that he can fight that dude. But here he is, probably 12 shots of Fireball deep, thinking that he can have it out with an ex-NHL enforcer.
100%. Yeah. If I would have seen a guy that big get up, I would have probably chilled my jets too.
I don't know,
maybe,
dude.
You know, the DraftKings Sportsbook in Scottsdale was a little iffy. That guy would have probably pumped me shut, but yeah, the alcohol
that dude was just as big as that guy in the video, but he was also like shit faced. So I think you could have maybe one punched him, but you would only had one shot, because otherwise you would have gotten put through that fucking table like it was some sort of WWE match.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of just incredible things happening on the golf course, let's transition this to the curious case of Brian Campbell and winning the John Deere this past weekend. Once again, PGA Tour, back-to-back weeks where it's kind of coming in a lull of the season. Like, you go from a U.S. Open to the Travelers, a signature event, great event that's very highly televised and watched around the country, to the John Deere Classic, and I'm already blanking on what was the tournament, right? The Rocket Mortgage and the John Deere Classic. This is like the shit sandwich in between the two great, pieces of buttered Texas toast. But the PGA Tour has gotten really good ratings and just really good golf tournaments out of this. Back-to-back playoffs. This week we had Brian Campbell and Emiliano Grillo, which is probably everybody wanted Emiliano to win. Kind of been in the PGA Tour, been around a while. Not necessarily a fan favorite, if you will. He's Argentinian, but just a guy that people know. And that's when it gets to those playoffs, you generally cheer for a guy people know. But Brian Campbell is slowly becoming a name that maybe you should know. And I don't know, like, I sent you the tweet, and the craziest part about his season is he's had 2 wins, which is, I believe, second or third most on the PGA Tour this year. He's like right behind Scotty and Rory and guys like that have won multiple times on the tour. I think there's 6 guys that have won multiple times this year, and he's one of those 6. But his other top finishes outside of his 2 wins are a couple of T32s. And that's not the only interesting part about him, because generally when you see that, you're like, oh, the guy's got the capability to win, but he's also got the capability to shoot 80 basically, or, not finish in the top 30 on any other PGA Tour event. And that's where I want to get to your tweet, because I thought this was really good that you tweeted out this past weekend, and where Brian Campbell is just excelling at. And so he's one of the shortest players on the PGA Tour, averages 276 off the tee, which I would imagine is virtually not an amateur status, but like I would imagine on even smaller tours, there's 90% of the guys are hitting it past him, even on like the
100%.
Your Monday cues, probably 3/4 of the guys are hitting it past him, etc. But he leads the tour in proximity on approaches inside 100 yards. Maybe I need to do some work with Brian Campbell, but work on your wedge game, folks. And there's nothing more true than that, because he just won a Birdie Fest PGA Tour event at a not necessarily a tough golf course, but not a golf course that essentially fits anyone specifically. But you can win on the PGA Tour just being the best in the world right now at wedge shots and approach shots inside 100 yards.
100%. And especially on a golf course like this, where the scoring is low, Brian Campbell hits a lot of tee shots in the fairway. I'm looking at his stats right now. He is 172nd on tour in strokes gained off the tee, which there's around 185 to 190 guys that have like full-time status on tour, or some status, any status. And then approach to the green and putting, he's 32nd in both of those. So top 35 in approach and putting, bottom 10% on tour in driving. And that just goes against everything of what this modern day game is. Like, how many, and I'm the same way. I'm teaching a younger kid. I'm like, swing it hard first, learn how to hit it as hard as you can, and then control it off the tee, because distance is ultimately king when you get to a higher level. And if you're trying to raise your ceiling and go low, distance is ultimately going to help you do that. And the crazy part is, like, the Mexico Open and the John Deere are 2 tournaments where driving the ball is actually at a premium. the 2 tournaments he's won this year, driving the ball is much more important that week than anything else. And I just don't really, it really kind of defies logic to me, because obviously the guy makes putts, he hits it close inside 100 yards, but he definitely seems to like have this thing where if the driver is decent, then the irons are really good, the wedges are phenomenal. And it just felt like when he was in the middle of that run on the back nine, until he hit that hook out of bounds on, like, I want to say 14 or 15 and made double, he was just making everything he looked at from like 10, 12, 15 feet. He was giving himself a shitload of looks. And I mean, it just goes to show you that one win can make all the difference in the world when you're coming down the stretch, just for your own mental fortitude of like, I've been there, I've done that. And then you go back to guys like fucking Cam Young, who still has not won on the PGA Tour. You watch these two dudes, that is just the beauty of golf. You put these two dudes next to each other on the driving range, and you look at Cam Young and you're probably like, you got to give this dude 4 aside, 3 aside, 4 aside. Like, it is so hard to determine just off physical capability what a guy can do on the golf course. And Brian Campbell is the epitome of that. But then you have Aldrich Potgieter. Funny enough, those two are in the playoff in Mexico. Potgieter wins the Rocket Mortgage, and then Campbell wins again at the John Deere. Like, are these two dudes just the kings of the non high level fucking PGA, the mid level PGA Tour events? Because they have both played, and the difference is Campbell's like in his early 30s, I want to say, and Potgieter's only 20. So, and Potgieter's ceiling is fucking through the roof. The guy just absolutely moves it. And then you have the dude at the complete opposite end of the spectrum, and Brian Campbell. So it was really a fun watch. Like, I was dialed in. There was 6 or 7 dudes at the top of the leaderboard that could have stepped up and won it. Michael Torbjornsson had a crazy round going. There was just a handful of dudes that you felt like were in it. And the PGA Tour is getting what it needs out of these lower level events. It's a competitive, not a fucking runaway where one dude wins by 6 or 7. Like, these are fun events to watch coming down the stretch.
Yeah, great event to watch coming down the stretch. And the fact that so many guys were in it. Ricky Fowler was in it for a little bit. Who was the other guy that was? Max Homa was in it for a bit. So that makes it fun on weeks like this when those guys are, Max Homa had a pretty good week and was leading for a while, going even on Sunday. So guys like that being in it and kind of getting their chance to reclaim their status on the PGA Tour, reclaim their wins in their career is a big deal. And a lot of these tournaments can bring that out. Sometimes it's unfortunate that the actual playoff itself was so lame, because Griot hit it over and then also didn't even give himself a shot at making a par. He was still out. So it made a needed 2 putt for Campbell. So it kind of handed him the victory. So we kind of saw somebody lose it rather than Campbell win it, but Campbell hit a great shot to put the pressure on Griot. So he kind of won it with the approach shot.
I would agree. It was David Lipsky who bogeyed 18 to miss the playoff. And that was a treacherous one as well. He absolutely sniped one off the tee on 18, ended up having to lay up, hits one to like 6 or 7 feet, and then misses that. That was brutal, because Lipsky hasn't won on the PGA Tour either, and that would have been a 3-way playoff. But yeah, crazy for Brian Campbell to get it done twice this year. Like, that is not on a single person's bingo card.
Yeah, and speaking of Michael Torbjornsson, real quick, my pick for the week unfortunately had a rough Friday, Saturday, and then started to put himself in contention on Sunday. But there is no more epitome of golf than looking at his scorecard and the fact that you've got one of the best players in the world, relatively speaking, top 200 golfer in the world, 100 golfer, top 1.1% of all players that ever touch a golf club. And he's 9 under par, probably has the hottest round going that he's maybe ever had in his career, especially in a tournament, and takes one of the easiest holes on the golf course and makes 7. And you were kind of commentating it to me. I wasn't watching at that specific moment. And I'm like, that's just golf. And it was unfortunate. I knew he wasn't going to win the tournament. I had him to win. If I would have had him to top 5 or 10 and that would have happened, I would have been livid. But he basically lost 3 strokes on the field on just that one hole, because a lot of guys were making 4 on the par 5 and he made 7 by, I just saw on the stat cast him hit his 3rd shot into the bunker from 90 yards. And I was like, come on, guy. You're 9 under par. You're absolutely cooking on the day. Everybody's watching you. Your potential 59 watch, etc. And then you'd make a double bogey on the easiest hole on the golf course in a professional tournament. It's just like, that's golf.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is golf. Speaking of bets, real quick, before we get into our picks for this week, we'll talk about LeBron at a later date. His golf swing fucking sucks, but it's just
we'll get some video on that. We'll get some video on that for the next pod. And shocker, the most athletic person in the world can't swing a golf club even past like his waist. Like he has no rotate. It's so bad.
Well, do you know what else is funny too? Is Rafa Nadal's golf swing is absolutely atrocious as well. Have you seen that?
No, I have not.
Okay, you got to look that up because it actually looks pretty similar and it is bad. Like the fact that a guy that plays tennis, LeBron plays a completely different sport, so I get it, but fucking Nadal plays tennis, pretty similar relatively speaking, and just his golf swing looks like the visual of throw up. Like it looks like he's puking every time he swings at it. But speaking of bets, do you know what was electric is I hadn't logged into my DraftKings in a while. I've actually been taking a golf betting break. Probably because I like bought a house and shit and don't need to be wasting money on gambling. But I opened the app. I thought my balance was zero. I have $125 in there because I hit the Tyrrell Hatton top 10 at the US Open. And I have legitimately not opened the app since the US Open. I thought I lost all my bets. So I've got 125 sitting in there that I'm ready to fire off these next 2 weeks at the Scottish and the Open Championship. So I'm fucking stoked for that.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Scottish Open. We had an interesting Rory quote that I'll play here. Just hilarious. They asked him about venues and golf courses. So we're going to play this Rory quote real quick, react to that, and then talk about the Scottish Open at the Renaissance Club, along with our Big Bet Energy picks for this week, which are sure to be winners.
I think it's the same thing. If venues and golf matter to you, it maybe puts a little bit more pressure on you. So I'd love to win an Open at Portrush, absolutely. I'd love to win an Open at St Andrews. I'd love to win a US Open at Pebble Beach. I'd love to win a PGA at PGA Frisco. But it's like there's venues in the game that just mean a little bit more. Frisco might get there one day. Who knows?
Yeah, I want to know where my fucking taxpayer dollars went.
The end. I want to know where my fucking taxpayer dollars went.
Yeah, I didn't crop that video well enough to get that off there, and I was trying to get it off before we got back on, but just
my god.
Yeah, Rory with an extreme backhanded just stray shot at the PGA of America. And to be fair, I mean, they're going to be not happy about that for sure, but at the same time, I think it was more of maybe not the PGA headquarters, but more of the fact that Frisco is literally 1 year old. Like if I had to take anything from that, it's that. Definitely not the thing to say. And he could have said the PGA at Frisco and not done the Borat pause not.
I was just going to say
that
hit the Borat.
If he would have left that part out, he would have probably been fine and people would have taken it as a joke. And then it would have been a funny thing, but he had to pause not.
He hit the suit is black not.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. That was Rory is like fucking, I don't know if he's got somebody like writing jokes for him or what, but he is becoming such a heel at this point. It is fucking hilarious. The suit is black not. PGA Frisco not. That shit was that was very funny. But yeah, I mean, the PGA just shoehorning their now headquarters. That would have been like, when the PGA was previously down in Port St. Lucie, that would have been like hosting a PGA championship at one of those golf courses. That's clearly, now I think the PGA Frisco course is more built for a major championship, but they definitely want to showcase their own product. They kind of like smelling their own farts. Let's put it that way. Excuse me. Okay, so do we want to get into our betting picks for the Genesis Scottish Open this week?
Yeah, let's talk about the Scottish Open, Renaissance Club, a great spot. Of course, Robert McIntyre won in 2024. Great story last year with him winning, obviously a big event, especially to him, but also with his dad on the bag. Got some great clippable moments out of that. Here are our picks for this week in the Genesis Scottish Open. I'll start with mine. I'm going to go with Foxy. He's already won twice on the PGA Tour this year. He's one of those 6 guys. Extreme wild card here, but at plus 6,000, I feel like it's worth a shot. And then I almost put Tommy Fleetwood to win this thing. Like, I feel like he's got to win at some point. Maybe it's all the close calls that he's had, the Canadian Open a couple weeks ago, where you feel like he's got to win it and he doesn't. But I bailed on that and I just went plus 400 in the top 5. So I got Tommy Fleetwood plus 400 in the top 5, Ryan Fox plus 6,000 to win it.
Okay. I do like the Ryan Fox pick and honestly the Tommy Fleetwood pick because it's technically the PGA Tour, but it's also kind of the DP World Tour. So I think he's proven to be able to win when it's not just a PGA Tour event. I'm going to ride with Harry Hall, the big Englishman this week. He did me well, top 10ing at the Travelers Championship. And he's just been playing really good golf this season. He hasn't has he won this year? I don't think he's won this year. I think he won last year, but I could see him getting it done. He's just got a really solid golf game. Matteo Manacero plus 1,000 to top 10. He's played well here. He's had a good season. He's kind of reemerging. One of the best putters in the world, one of the best short game guys in the world. And I kind of think that's what you need when you're going around the Renaissance Club, as they would like to call it. And then Tristan Lawrence, the big South African, plus 11,000 to win. He gave us a scare at the Open Championship last year. He was in the final group, couldn't quite get it done, but then he's had a couple of pretty solid finishes recently on the PGA Tour after kind of starting a little tough out of the gate. So I could see the big man Tristan Lawrence coming out of left field and getting it done this week.
Yeah, that's funny. The part about that, when I made this graphic, I just left him there. He was our last long shot pick when we made the graphic for the John Deere. So Tristan Lawrence, come on, baby. Long shot us into victory. Well, let's finish this pod up with a What the Fuck Wednesday, as we do every single Wednesday on this pod. I'll start with mine. I've actually got a few, but I'll chamber one of them for later. It's a little less important than the one that happened to me last night. And that's just my kid absolutely Fred Flintstoned my head with his bat outside. It was not, I haven't checked today. I don't think I have a concussion. I feel like I'm okay, but I haven't checked if there's any sort of knot or anything. But we were playing in the backyard. We were playing hit, and it's his favorite game, but he's very particular about where he stands. And it's kind of annoying me because I'm like, no, if you stand over here and I throw it to you from here, you're going to hit it over into the yard and we can go pick it up. But he's starting to connect on these and like hitting it into our neighbor's yard, hitting it into the bushes. And then of course he walks over. I'm like, you got to go get those. He walks over to the bush and just goes, help, help, help. I'm pulling a full our dad here where he just used to sit in the chair and fire us balls all the time. Like, I don't want to get up. I want to sit. I'm sitting in the chair. It's, late in the evening, 7:30 p.m. I'm like, I just want to sit down. I'll throw you the ball a million times, but you're going to hit it and then you're going to go pick it up. And this time I was actually following him around the yard because he tripped over my sprinkler and like face first right into the grass. So I'm fixing my sprinkler because the sprinklers are about to come on in about 30 minutes. So I'm down, crouched down behind him, fixing the sprinkler, and he swings at the ball that's in front of him and just on the follow through absolutely claps the top of my dome. And I just went straight down. It was a fair amount of pain, but I was also like, I was gritting my teeth. Like, you can't yell at a 2-year-old he was just swinging at his ball. Like, if he would have been swinging at me and hit me like that, there would have been words and maybe some actions that would have followed. But it was a pure accident. Just absolutely drilled me on the top of the head. And we were wrestling and he scratched the fuck out of my neck 2 days ago. So bottom line, What the Fuck Wednesday, having a toddler who's a blast to play with, but he is dangerous and I need to keep my head on a swivel at all times. And one of the line drives that he was like adamant his feet needed to be at this spot probably whizzed past Kylie's head at 75 to 80 miles an hour because he connected. And
I don't think he's capable of those miles per hour yet, but with
the way the ball and the bat, like, it bounces off there. I mean, this thing was cooking.
You think he's got his shit corked? Do you need to check Sawdog's bat before your next session?
I did cork it to make him feel better about it. So
He's got that
I was
Sammy.
the
So
corking.
he's got that Mark McGuire shit going. You just open that thing up, just full of corks. I mean, he is starting to connect. Like his hand-eye coordination is improved drastically in the last couple of weeks. So I mean, he could probably get him in the Rockies lineup by the time he's like 3.
100%. He can strike out as well as he can go up there and fire as well as anybody.
He can fucking stare at 3 pitches as well as anyone. My What the Fuck Wednesday, I can't remember if I mentioned this or not, but what are these kids meetups? Like, have you heard about these things? Like, what the fuck is these teenage meetups? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm not on
Like,
teenage TikTok, apparently.
No, it's not TikTok. It's like a real thing where teenagers like go and like take over malls now. And so we were down the shore for you Jersey people. We were down the shore for 4th of July, and we ran out of ice at the house, and the Wawa's like right across the street. I'm a little tuned up. I'm like, oh, I'll walk over, get some ice. Like, guys, see what's going on. There's like 40 teenagers hanging out outside of Wawa. Like they've had to put like a curfew on these kids because they just they just loiter outside of like gas stations and then they like start stealing shit and they start fighting. Like, I don't think this was a thing when we were kids, was it?
I mean, we always used to hang out at the Sonic, or you'd see groups of people hang out at the Walmart. So I think it was a thing. Now it's just with social media. With social media, it's becoming more of a, let's actually like get a group, and maybe they're random kids. Usually it was just you and your friends sitting in the car, or like 10 of you, or you'd all talk at school. But now with all this communication, social media, like, God, we sound so fucking old, but what are these fucking kids doing meeting up at the fucking Wawa? I can't believe it.
Well, no, dude, but they like are getting violent and shit. It's like not good. Is this generation of parents like the worst parents ever? Do you just let your 14 or 15-year-old? And I guess maybe this is kind of an opposite take, because I give parents shit for like keeping their kids in the house and like letting them play video games. But then I also don't want them out loitering at the local gas station or fucking shopping mall and getting into mischief. Like, why don't you get your kids into get them into golf, get them into something constructive that they can spend their time on, rather than hanging out in front of the fucking gas station. Like, dude, teenagers are scary. Like, I'm walking in there. I'm 30 years old. I got my Abercrombie flip-flops on. I look like a total fucking douche canoe. And all these kids are like staring me up and down, like I'm getting judged by these 16-year-olds. And I'm like, just fucking let me get my ice and get out of here, dude. Like, don't fucking look at me. And then, I mean, they've got cops in all these gas stations because these gas station workers are all afraid that they're just going to get fucking taken for ransom. They're going to start stealing all their nicotine and all their stuffed pretzels and fucking Gatorades and shit. Like, it's a wild scene. I don't know. And maybe it's an East Coast thing. I don't know if this happens in Colorado or not, but these fucking teenagers are just up to no good. They're flat out just full of mischief.
Just mischief afoot. There's mischief afoot with these teenagers and their meetups. Well, that wraps it up for us this week on this Wednesday edition of Big Drive Energy, part of the Golfer Gang Network. Go check out the Golfer Gang Network. It's a network of a bunch of golf podcasts like us, golf content, Big Drive Energy, Divots and Pivots. They shouted out, came into our pod a little bit ago and said, what's up? There's a lot of awesome podcasts on there, and there'll be probably this Sunday, there'll be a show that will do previewing the Open Championship. We do a lot of fun stuff with Golfer Gang Network. Make sure to follow us on all the socials at Big Drive Energy and Big Drive Energy Golf on Instagram. We appreciate you guys tuning in for this edition of Big Drive Energy. That's enough Big Drive Energy for you for the rest of the week. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the Scottish Open, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.